This is Tele-pilot, and your introduction to this unique and fast-growing video series. The first 4 minutes of this introduction will demonstrate not only in pictures, but also frequently with the sounds, the speed and effectiveness in which information is brought to you, although many miles separate you and the locations. Weeks, months and even years would be needed of actual sea time to experience only some of the information within the Tele-pilot series. Here, some of the events, sounds, time and distance has been spanned in just 4 minutes. They say a picture is worth 1,000 words. I'll leave it to you to decide what some of these sounds are worth, especially when navigating in strong tides, poor visibility, and your electronics have failed, perhaps due to a flat battery.
Scaffolding on the 3 and 4 arches Blackfriars Road Bridge, 1 and 2 arches of Vauxhall Bridge and Centre Arch Battersea Road Bridge. Tidal information, tide north voltage 4 metres above chart datum. 4 metres. End of the broadcast, voltage out.
Charts, pilot books, almanacs, sail and motorboat schools all contribute effectively to equip and assist you to navigate safely around our coasts, harbours, rivers and estuaries. The Tele-pilot series now augments these and provides you with a completely new option and source of information. But isn't he lucky the weather's good? Well, hey, the maroon's gone off. Well, and rightly so. They don't waste much time here at Ramsgate, even on a calm day. Pilotage is the base framework where all the Tele-pilot information is sourced. The pilotage provides what might be called the information storyline, thus making the information more absorbing and even entertaining. Most experienced mariners know and understand the charts, the symbols and the abbreviations contained on every chart. Also, the experienced mariner knows where to find all the advanced information required for a voyage, such as lights, buoys, tides, radio stations, waypoints, etc. All this information and where to find it is now explained and brought to life for you in the reality of the Tele-pilot video series. By now you should be aware of Tele-pilot either via the yachting press or have seen Tele-pilot videos in your chandlery or other marine outlet. This radio signal can be heard off Calais or west of the Isle of Wight. Hello, Bray Harbour, Bray Harbour, Bray Harbour. Motor yacht Little Mallard to Bray Harbour. Over.
Station calling Bray Harbour, this is Alderney Radio. Good evening, could you repeat your name?
Hello, Alderney Radio. Yes, Little Mallard, motor yacht Little Mallard. We're actually 3.4 miles. Sorry about that, we're getting thrown about at the moment. We're 3 miles northwest of Bray Harbour. It can often be difficult when considering the purchase of a vehicle, especially with regard to what might be contained within. This intro is your way of discovering the content of the Tele-pilot series and so assist you in the knowledge that your purchase is a wise one. The coasts of the British Isles and northern continent are some of the most difficult waters in the world, especially with our delightfully variable climate, with a frequent mix of fog, poor visibility and the strong tides. With this in mind, and the fact that over recent years the leisure boating scene has expanded tremendously, the Tele-pilot project just has to be a good idea. 2 craft are used for the acquisition of material, and I feel it's important to show and discuss them briefly for 2 reasons. Firstly, and in particular with regard to my Fisher Northeaster mainly used on the project, an understanding and comparison can be made with regard to size, draft and speed to that of the craft you may be using. Secondly, it will provide you with the knowledge that I'm somewhat equally sail and powerboat experienced. The 2 craft are similar in length and beam, but the similarity ends there. The Fairline has 2 petrol engines totalling 210 horsepower, providing 30 knots. She is steered by redirecting the propellers, therefore the engines must be in gear to steer the boat. She has a very light draft and a specially designed planing hull. A special design and narrow beam allows her to chine ride, making her a very exhilarating and highly manoeuvrable cabin boat. She can even travel astern faster than some craft will travel ahead. Two disadvantages are slamming onto head seas, forcing much reduction in speed, and running costs. For example, a recent return voyage Shepperton to Ostend cost £308 in petrol. In contrast, the Fisher has a deep draft and long keel, eliminating slamming altogether. She has 3¼ tons of cast iron in the keel, and although it would be very uncomfortable, so long as she's sensibly rigged and secure, she will sail in almost any weather. In contrast to the Fairline, she has a large rudder and will steer well at all speeds. This summer she in fact sailed for over an hour on one passage, without touching the wheel or using the autopilot. Obviously, with sails and her small diesel engine, she is extremely economical. When one has over 40 bridges to negotiate between Tower Bridge and Shepperton, masts are a problem, but even single-handed, on my recent voyage back from Alderney to Shepperton, I broke all records. I had them down and secured in 1 hour and 55 minutes. Perhaps you're not impressed. Colette's making it look so easy here. I stopped at Gravesend, where I have a favourite spot when conditions permit. Like any sensible mariner, I make use of the ingoing tide. Time spent in lowering masts is time and tide lost on the long passage up the Thames. Incidentally, on this voyage home, only an hour out of Alderney, and single-handed, my autopilot motor failed, so I had just under 300 miles ahead of me at the wheel. As it turned out, 60 hours and 20 minutes. Sounds impressive, doesn't it? 60 hours at the wheel. But I did in fact stop for sleep at Langston Harbour, New Haven, Queenborough and Woolwich Buoys. Right, as I speak, the complete range of Tele-pilot DVDs are appearing before you. For the experienced, Tele-pilot continues to bring your charts, nautical almanacs and your pilot books to life. Tele-pilot will provide the experienced yachtsmen and powered boat mariners with a fast, comprehensive and very effective alternative source of information. For the inexperienced and all those new or hopeful of making a start into this great leisure activity, Tele-pilot will not only show you in a very practical way what to expect, but will also go a long way to providing you with a fast, practical and cost-effective marine education. Included in 7 more general knowledge intensive videos, the Super 7, are Tele-pilot questionnaires. These are great for everyone, no matter if you're experienced or new to the water. See how many answers provide before running the video. By ticking the questions you have answered, you will then see a very good indicator of your general marine knowledge. The questions are in the questionnaires and the answers almost always in the videos. If the answers are not contained within the video, you will be directed by the video to where the answer can be found in the almanac. Continuing again now with our current collection of DVDs available, and at the same time including dialogue outlining Tele-pilot tuition, the other dominant aspect of the series also covered well within the Tele-pilot website. If you may find it necessary, do stop this DVD and re-watch footage concentrating on alternative information where picture information differs to narrative. We all see what must number thousands of boats tied up at marinas, at least 2/3 of them either not going anywhere or simply re-navigating the same passage over and over. This is often simply because their skippers may not be confident of tackling new locations. All this capital tied up provided the producer with much inspiration to produce a faster, more effective means to help owners make more use of their mostly very capable craft. The Tele-pilot DVD series works on 2 levels. Tele-pilot pilotage DVDs continue to be very popular and well received, especially for those lucky enough to want to navigate a location covered by the contrasting pilotage DVDs. As you're probably realising, there is much more to Tele-pilot than simply the purchase of a pilotage DVD. This is particularly understood when it comes to the Tele-pilot Super 7 and Top 12 Safe Navigation and Seamanship tuition packs. The tuition pack was introduced in early days after many requests from customers. Customers indicated how pleased they were with the marine tuition content and were asking our advice as to which pilots to purchase next for their continued learning. This led initially to produce the Super 7 pack, followed more recently by the Top 12 pack. Both carefully produced to provide positive and fast leisure boat safe and efficient navigation. Each pack comes with the skipper's handbook and the tuition guidance envelope containing the latest update tuition guidance sheets. Each tuition pack DVD comes with a questionnaire where the answers come up subtly in the DVD pictures and the dialogue. The questionnaires are backed up with a time code so that the student is able to find the answers to any question that may be eluding he or she. The questionnaires also include prompting references to the skipper's handbook, the charts or the nautical almanac for the answers or for further information. Tele-pilot started right here at this Thames complex of waterways. As much of this Tele-pilot introduction is conducted at sea locations, I am about to use the backdrop of Thames 1, our only freshwater location DVD, and quite a contrast to the salty DVDs. I am setting the dialogue firstly over the weekday tranquility of Thames Lock River Way, and then to the pandemonium of Shepperton Lock on a sunny weekend. Not here. So, Thames 1, here we come, but here, into the prettiest section. Even our 8-foot height's beginning to tell already. Even this boat's too high to get very far into the way, and our 2-foot 8-inch draft is a little bit on the deepish side. However, here comes Steve already. Looks like he's got his faithful assistant with him too. Tele-pilot tuition packs are an ideal means of obtaining experience without actually being there. At Tele-pilot, it's what we call DVD time. And again, the environment is totally different here to the Thames. It is really so very peaceful. The advantage that seriously outweighs the disadvantage of not actually being there is the speed of reaching and experiencing the great contrasts of required knowledge and varied coastal environments. The DVDs provide the ability to receive the multitude of information much faster, more enjoyably and surprisingly effectively. Reality is of course expected to be better, but the leisure mariner mostly does not have the time to obtain the vast experience necessary to safely navigate a leisure craft. The option of learning at motorboat and sailing schools takes time to set up, and owing to the frequent possibility of unsuitable weather during practical instruction, tuition can be slow, less effective, and can become expensive. While the water is raised to lift the boat over the sill. The location of yacht and motorboat training is usually relatively local, and therefore not instructing effectively for the contrasts of locations especially required when cruising the various waters and coastlines. The shoal contours of sand and mud, and perhaps light tidal streams, are very different to rocky locations with steep contours and possibly fast tidal streams. Navigators often feel much less at ease when confronted with navigation contrasts. Reality boat instruction does in fact take months, even years to complete, whereas Tele-pilot can provide the contrast of knowledge required within days and often within hours and frequently even within minutes. The final speed of actual learning is of course reliant on the student's intellect, spare time and enthusiasm. Regularly at Tele-pilot we are asked how do Tele-pilot tuition packs compare with RYA tuition. There is always a simple answer, in that we are both teaching very much the same. Tele-pilot North Cardinal boys are no different to RYA North Cardinals. Tele-pilot Gales are no different to RYA. Collision regulations, low visibility in fog, the understanding of lights during nighttime navigation, all the same from either methods of instruction. It's just that via Tele-pilot you will be safer in contrasting locations, so very much faster. But you won't gain much. Only to arrive and join the queue at the next lock. Even if you have the power to use more speed, it's still not on, as you will only create a wash and a situation that will result in a flow of rather rude words towards you from almost everyone else in sight. Regrettably, the RYA courses trickle rather slowly through day skipper, coastal skipper, competent crew and yacht master, etc. Fine for those with plenty of money to spend and under no pressure for receiving their knowledge. But seriously, not fast enough, especially when many have already purchased and are already navigating their craft. Hire boats make up a good section of the public using the river, and with a bit of time and experience, the RYA do have a couple of rather expensive fast-track tuition options. However, Tele-pilot, Super 7 and Top 12 could be said to be fast-track options anyway, and the Tele-pilot savings really are vast. Since 1988, the Tele-pilot producer has been involved in meeting hundreds of visitors at the major boat shows. These conversations have helped considerably in producing the Tele-pilot series. With the long establishment and the size of the RYA, most leisure craft navigators don't realise that there is an alternative to RYA instruction. It seems this chap's got his hands in the wrong place. Whichever way you obtain your marine education, do get as much reality on board time as you can. Keep your own logbook as proof of your experience. Via Tele-pilot DVDs, if you can afford the Tele-pilot Top 12 tuition pack, you are almost doubling your DVD sea time. This will put you way ahead of any other maritime tuition available. This might be the first Tele-pilot requiring adult certification. Do check out the Tele-pilot website customer comment section, produced from those that have been kind enough to comment on the Tele-pilot DVD series. They just find where there's a constant breeze and skim back and forth, giving the motorboats nightmares trying to give way to sail. The lock opens again. Right, let's move on to further Tele-pilot information while navigating from Shepperton and Weybridge down through the remaining lock section of the River Thames. Very nice design. If this boat is going to Holland, it could be at Southend in about 16 hours, and in Holland in 24 hours. It does depend on the weather and how hard you want to push yourselves and your boat. You must plan ahead carefully, but be ready to extend your cruise time for many reasons that will come to light before one even reaches the English Channel. For those not knowing the Thames, you may find all this very hard to believe, but this is representative of many locks on the Thames on a nice weekend like this, and especially if we haven't had nice weather for a while. Right, with the continuing magic of video, we're about to cast off. Let go aft. And I'll continue my dialogue as we use the backdrop of Tele-pilot Thames 1 on our journey back down the Thames into the tideway and on to the sea. For the past 16 years or so, I have spent much of my leisure time cruising my 30-knot Fairline, and latterly this stout Fisher motor sailor, which I purchased specifically with the Tele-pilot project in mind. As you can imagine, making videos is extremely time consuming and can be very costly. So to minimise costs, the craft has to be economical and the right size to operate and shoot videos from, bearing in mind much of the time I would operate single-handed. Some have commented that I should shoot from a boat with a high all-round view, from perhaps a flying bridge. But this would be a great problem at sea in bad weather. Also, the masts, shrouds, rails, superstructure, etc. of the Fisher wouldn't be clipped onto the shots. Catching these on shots frequently is important to assist in understanding camera shot direction, and therefore causing you to grasp and views faster and more easily. Two other involvements I feel should be mentioned were starting my boating interests as a sea cadet, and in my 20s built and sailed my own enterprise sailing dinghy. I left the Merchant Navy some years ago after spending a fair portion of my life aboard large ships, and in due course I achieved Master Mariner status. I took command of many coastal vessels, initially relieving other masters for their holidays. This I thoroughly enjoyed, as it provided me with a great experience of manoeuvring varied types and sizes of merchant ships. The variety of pilotage involved on different ports and voyages was also of great interest and experience. I produced Tele-pilot particularly to help in the safety of others and to assist in achieving the fun and satisfaction that boating and seafaring has brought to me. By keeping costs low, it enables me to produce videos with longer running times. This is of great advantage to the consumer. The majority of my videos have running times which are considerably longer than normal. One might compare especially my 3-hour running pilots with other maritime videos. Our 3-hour running time value is exceptionally good, just a little over £12 an hour, as compared with other videos selling for about double that price. Tele-pilot is a very specialised video, frequently shot in adverse conditions, making some camera work rather difficult. Also, extra pans and zooms at times are necessary to relate to faster. More professionally affected cuts would mean more difficulty in assessing where one mark or location is with relation to another. No licence or qualification is required for one to take a pleasure craft to sea, and so often I see and hear of great problems on the water due to the lack of knowledge and experience. Tele-pilot videos contain so much more than pilotage. As the voyages progress, you will see that everything of importance is included. Frequently these days, one finds the money, and with luck the time, to spend aboard a boat. But so often one doesn't find the time for the learning, which is so very important for one's safety before one puts to sea. There are, of course, the many yachting and motorboat courses available to you. One can search out a good one and find out much more about the sea before venturing onto the sea, or in many cases before even venturing around the harbour. Now, Tele-pilot provides you with an extra choice, a whole range of videos, packed with information, putting you aboard a boat via your TV, with an almost continuous stream of dialogue, explaining and informing. Time is money. Tele-pilot is fast and positive. Other options will probably take you longer to set up and may end up far less cost effective. As we all know, a good video condenses all the action and dialogue, creating a very fast and effective way of learning. To achieve the same intake of information provided in a Tele-pilot 3-hour video, as indicated, would take some considerable time. For those already owning a boat, the advantages of a pilot video will soon become very obvious. For those without a boat, Tele-pilot is still a superb medium to be involved in. The advanced learning will arm you well to get you off to a good and safe start. Tele-pilot assists in two positive directions. Firstly, to assist in one's learning, but particularly to make one aware of what one should know before putting to sea. Secondly, for those already with experience and already owning a craft, Tele-pilot will provide extra information and confidence to take your craft, family and crew on longer cruises. There are those relatively experienced mariners who tend to repeatedly cover the same cruising grounds. Modern craft are now more efficient and more capable, so with a sensible approach to your craft, electronic aids, traditional chart work, navigation, seamanship and particularly the weather, voyages can often be extended. Tele-pilot is based on the fact that one is always more apprehensive of going to new ports or unfamiliar waters. Tele-pilot will provide you with the feeling of having been before. Once having thoroughly understood the videos, you will be surprised how the pilotage comes back to you as your voyage unfolds, very much in the same way as it would had you actually been before. The lengthier running times of Tele-pilot allow time within the video to explain the forthcoming action or to look back at the events undertaken. This is mostly covered via a chart and frequently via our electronic position plotter. The numerous chart inserts and the regular simple to follow electronic arrow indications keep you well in the picture. Tele-pilot of course can be reversed, frozen or rerun until the information is completely understood. When watching alone, there is no embarrassment in delaying others should you have not grasped the information first time around. Tele-pilot provides all the advice and information one could want for the area covered by the particular pilot. However, I believe there's a common misunderstanding emerging that Tele-pilot is only useful if cruising in the area covered by that particular pilot. This really is not so. As previously indicated, Tele-pilot has you actually on board in the position of skipper via your TV, experiencing all as one cruises from A to B. The extensive and varied information and dramas etc. experience as you progress within Tele-pilot will arm you well for the many similar situations one can experience anywhere. You will find the series is careful not to repeat information unnecessarily. Each pilot is effective in different ways, in discussing different information and equipment. Therefore, with each pilot, one doesn't only have new pilotage, but also more new and different general information, so one can purchase each new pilot knowing one is going to get the same good value from each pilot. One video perhaps has a bias towards electronics, another towards traditional navigation, information where radar is most useful, Raycon information, the echo sounder and its special uses, explanations on radio lighthouses, traditional and new VHF DF stations, use of VHF radio, sending a TR or traffic report, advice from Coast Guards and HM Customs, tips on mooring, anchoring, towing a dinghy or inflatable, and very much more. All this is dispersed throughout the series, as one meets the situation passages. Valuable information for any mariner, anywhere, not just in the area covered by that particular pilot. Many very experienced mariners will not only find the series of great interest, but may realise that there are still some sizable gaps in their marine knowledge. Seeing things from another viewpoint, and via a professional's background, may well be found very useful. Unless you are close to a pilot already completed, or to one of the locations destined for Tele-pilot coverage soon, you are unfortunately likely to wait much too long for the Tele-pilot to reach you in the area of your particular interest. May I suggest that the more positive action is to select the most appealing pilots from our existing growing range. Pt3 is an excellent example for those who may be looking for chart work, variation and deviation advice, chart corrections, etc. Channel 1 for anyone new to crossing the English Channel, containing so much advice on the crossing, in addition to the in-depth pilotage. However, here's your chance to judge Tele-pilot for yourself and let you preview our large number of Tele-pilots already available. These will be followed shortly after by outtakes from our further pilots that are due out soon.